So in this video, we're going to be working with two different factoring methods. The first one is called factoring by grouping. We're going to use it whenever we have maybe four terms, maybe not, four terms. And it's called factoring by grouping because my first step is that I'm going to group the terms. So I'm going to group here the n cubed and minus 3n squared, and then the negative 2n plus 6. On this first parenthesis, I'm going to find a common factor. My common factor here is n squared, right? Between n cubed and 3n squared, my common factor is n squared. So inside of that first parenthesis, I have n minus 3. Then on the second parenthesis, my common factor is negative 2. One recommendation here is that anytime that the second sign on the polynomial is negative, I'm factoring out always a negative. So if this sign is negative, if that sign is negative, I'm always factoring a negative. If it's positive, I'm factoring a positive. So that means that in here I have n minus 3. Remember that whenever I factor out something, I'm actually dividing here by negative 2. Now, if you see, I'm going to do it on this time. If I take a or any variable equals to n minus 3, I'm going to have here n squared times a minus 2a. Right here, my common factor right there is going to be a. My common factor here is going to be a. So that means that I can factor out that a and minus 2, n squared minus 2. Right? Now, but my a was equals to n minus 3, so I'm going to come down here and put that n minus 3 times n squared minus 2. Let's see number 2. So number 2 again, I'm going to group. So I'm going to take the first 2, second 2. Common factor here is a squared, so I got a minus 3. Then common factor on the second one is negative 6. Again, because this sign is negative, I'm factoring out a negative number. So I got a minus 3. Again, my common factor now is that parenthesis, the same, right? If I put a, let's say, if I put an x right here, then my common factor is going to be that x. So my common factor is that parenthesis. Keep in mind something is that parenthesis has to be exactly the same. If whenever I do the grouping and I know that I did it correctly and the parenthesis is not exactly the same, that means that I couldn't factor by grouping. Right? Again, if the parenthesis is not exactly the same, that means that I cannot factor by grouping. Okay, so number 3, again, I'm going to group the first 2, group the second 2. Common factor here between 12x cubed and 21x squared is 3x squared. So inside I got 4x minus 7. Common factor here, again, this sign right here, this sign is negative, so that means that I'm factoring a negative. And between 16 and 18 is 4, so negative 4. Then I have 4x minus 7. Again, this becomes my common factor. That becomes my common factor. So I can factor that as 4x minus 7 times 3x squared minus 4. The second one, the number 4, I'm going to group. Common factor here is 8x squared. Common factor here is positive 3 because the sign is positive, so it's going to be positive 3. So I have x minus 3. Factor out the common factor, and that's my factorization. Now, the next one is different and sum of cubes. And these are the formula. Copy them down, have them, because you're going to have to memorize it for the test. So a cubed plus b cubed here, this sign is only going to tell me which one I'm using. But if you can see, they're very similar. So whenever you have a cubed plus b cubed, so that means that I have a sum of cube, I can factor it out as a plus b times a squared minus ab plus b squared. So that means that first one plus the second one, first one squared minus the first one times the second one plus the second one squared. If it's minus, as you can see, the only thing that changes is this first sign and this sign over here. Let's see some example here. Right? Let's start with the sum. First step here is that 8 is the same as 2 cubed. Right? And b is the same as 27 is 3 cubed. Right? So I can rewrite this as 2x. Actually, the a should be 2x cubed plus 3 cubed. Right? So when I go back here is, again, first one times the second one times first one square minus first one times second one plus second one square. So this is 2x plus 3 times 4x squared minus 6x plus 9. And now if I multiply 2x times 4x and so on, and then 3 times everything and simplify, I should have that same factorization there. Let's go to the next one. Again, let's start by identifying a is going to be 5a, and then b is going to be 1. So my factorization here is going to be, so I can rewrite this, or let's start by rewriting this as this right here, 1 cubed. So that means that I can factor that as the first one plus the second one, the first one square, plus or minus the first one times the second one plus the second one square. So I got 5a plus 1 times 120, not 125, times 25a squared minus 5a plus 1. Keep in mind that this square goes also to the 5. Remember that whenever I multiply the first one times the first one, it should give you this number. So if I don't square the 5, if I don't square the 5, then I'm going to have 5 here, and I have 5 times 5. That is not 125. So keep in mind that I'm also squaring that 5 right there. Okay, so number 7, again, a is going to be 4x, b is going to be 3. So I can rewrite it as 4x cubed plus 3 cubed. So it's the first one plus the second one, so 4x plus 3 times the first one square plus the first one times the second one plus the second one square. So I should have 4x plus 3 times 16x squared plus 12x plus 9. Okay, this next one, again, a should be 27a cubed, so that I can rewrite that as 3a and 1. So I got 3a cubed plus 1 cubed. So first one plus the second one, first one square plus first one times second one square. And I'm going to simplify that as 3a plus 1 times 9a. And again, remember that we're squaring also that number, not just the a, the number too. 3a plus 1. Okay. Let's see what's happening with the difference. The only difference here, if I have a subtraction there, I'm still going to identify x. B is 3, right? B, right? A and B, I'm just taking, if you want to see it that way, the cubic root here. So the cubic root of 27 is 3, and I'm going to show you in class how to use your calculator to find the cubic root. So that means that this I can write as 5x cubed minus 3 cubed. Now, again, this sign is just going to tell me, that I'm using now the difference. But as you can see, it's very similar to the addition. The only difference is that this sign changed and that one changed, right? So let's go down here again. So that means that on this case, because it's a difference, I have first one minus the second one times the first one square plus the first one times the second one plus the second one square. So I should have 5x minus 3 times 25x squared plus 15x plus 9. Okay, so the next one, again, a is going to be 4, b is going to be 3x. So I can write this as 4 cubed minus 3x cubed. Then I have the first one minus the second one times the first one square plus the first one times the second one plus the second one square. So 4 minus 3x, 16 plus 12x plus 9x squared. And that's it for this lesson. May the force be with you.